Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Memorial Day edition of the Daily Dose. We are so glad that you are here. I am Angie Larson, Executive Minister here at Calvary. And if you're someone who is watching on Facebook, would you do me a quick favor? Would you share this Daily Dose onto your personal page? It helps us to get the message out to more people. And if you're someone who's watching on YouTube, would you just hit subscribe so that you can continue to hear what Calvary is doing these days? And if you're listening on the radio or on cable access, we are so glad that you are here. Maybe call a friend tonight and tell them to tune in tomorrow night. So today is Memorial Day. It's this day where we remember someone who has died in service to our country. And I think that nearly all of us know someone in our lives, maybe someone in our families who have served in the military. So I thought I would share with you mine. This first picture is a picture of my Oma and my Opa, my German grandparents. You see, my Opa, he served in the military, but he actually grew up in southern Illinois as a pastor's kid. And his parents had immigrated to the United States from Germany, so he was fluent in German. And he was drafted into World War II. And when they found out he was fluent in German, he ended up with a job that used his German skills. But it was a really tough job. What Opa had to do is he had to interrogate the Germans that were captured after battles and then decide if they were sick enough to go to the infirmary to get taken care of or if they would be sent straight to the prisoner of war camp. It was a hard job, and he fought throughout Germany. And after the war, he came back and he quickly married my Oma. But you see, something happened. They had this great life together, but there's still part of him that was always lost in that experience of World War II. Something lost that he would never, ever gain back his whole life. When I was a child, I would wonder why my Oma and Opa slept in separate bedrooms. Why I would be allowed to snuggle one grandparent, but the other one would be behind a locked door. And so I asked about it one time, and my Oma and my Opa, they told me, well, it's because Opa has bad dreams. Opa has bad dreams, and one time in that bad dream, he hurt Oma, and so he didn't want to do that again. And see, I think you and I now know we would call this PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, but for him, at that time, there would be no diagnosis and no treatment. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to lock myself in my bedroom before I went to sleep. I'll continue. This is my brother-in-law, Brad, and my nephew, Grant. This is right back after Brad came back from a deployment with the Air Force in the Middle East just over 9 years ago. You see, Brad came back safe, and I'm so grateful, but he lost something too in this war. You see how little my nephew is here. You see, Brad missed a lot of the firsts that Grant had, his oldest child. He missed his first Christmas and his first Thanksgiving. He missed his first tooth and the way he began to crawl. All those firsts, you see, Brad lost in war too, things that he would never get back. And here's the last person I want to share with you tonight. This is my great uncle, Gerhard Hildebrandt. That sounds so German, doesn't it? Gerhard Hildebrandt. This is my Oma's brother. You see, he and his family had immigrated to the United States from Germany when he was a child. But then as World War II became on the margins and America was going to get involved, people in the neighborhood started to persecute their family because they were German. They started to assume that their family were Nazis or German sympathizers. And in order to protect his family, Gerhard, he did something crazy. He enlisted into World War II. And then after that, his 3 brothers also followed him, 4 boys from one family. And you see, Gerhard, he became a gunner, and then he made the ultimate sacrifice, and he was shot down. And no one really knows where he was shot down, maybe over the Atlantic, maybe over France, but this picture, this is exactly how old Gerhard got to be. And my Oma, who's still alive and who I talked to this week, she remembers her big brother who died. And she's excited that someday soon she'll be able to see him in heaven. You see, at Memorial Day, we remember the people that we have lost. But I think today, let's also remember the parts of people that have been lost as well. the emotional toll that all of our veterans experience. In the Bible, remembering is revered as a spiritual practice. It's of utmost importance. For God, it's important that we mark and we remember what happens in our lives. You see, as Moses led God's people out of Egypt, Moses proclaims, "Remember this day that you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because the Lord has brought you out of it with his mighty hand." And Jews still today remember this leaving, this exodus, with the celebration of the Passover. Or Jesus, who knows that he is going to the cross, who's going to death, he gathers people together for his Passover meal that we now call the Last Supper, and he marks it with the bread and the wine, and he gives it to the disciples saying, "Do this to remember me." You see, I think that God knows that we have a short memory. Because honestly, we're so consumed with our own selves in every moment that we tend to forget the past. We forget what God has done, and we forget what other people have done because we get just so wrapped up in ourselves. I know that there are many times when I have things that hurt and I don't want to remember them. It hurts to remember grief, and it hurts to remember loss, and it hurts to remember the mistakes I have made along the way. And so I'd rather just not dwell on them. I'd rather just keep plugging along so I don't have to remember and feel the hurt and the pain from those experiences. But you see, I think what God gets, I think what God understands is that we need to feel those experiences. We need a pause to just remember. To remember both the good and the difficult, to pause and to just sit in and ponder for a moment what could have been. A pause just to sit and feel the loss and to remember what has been given, to just sit and feel. And if we're honest, I just don't think that we're very good at this. And so I think that's why we need things like Memorial Day to remind us. So tonight, this Memorial Day, I want to encourage you to do this. To just take a pause and breathe and remember. Remember those who have died. Remember those who have lost part of themselves in the battlefield. Remember those who left part of themselves at home. Remember the pain that you tried to forget, and remember that through all of it and in all of it and among all of it, God has got you and everyone you remember. Amen.
Hey friends, it's Nolan from Calvary. Happy Memorial Day. Today, to celebrate and to remember together, we'll be singing a song called Remember Me. It's been a favorite for my family and I for a very long time. I even was able to sing this for my grandma's funeral. I hope the words and the music today mean something and help us all reflect in beautiful memories that help bring our loved ones who are not with us alive a little bit more today. Remember me in a Bible cracked and faded by the years. Remember me in a sanctuary filled with silent prayers. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace, child of wonder, child of God, I've remembered you. Remember me. Remember me when the color of a sunset fills the sky. Remember when you pray and tears of joy fall from your eyes. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace, child of wonder, child of God, I've remembered you. Remember me. Remember me when the children leave their Sunday school with smiles. Remember me when they're old enough to teach, old enough to preach, old enough to leave, and age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace, child of wonder, child of God, I've remembered you. Remember me.
Age to age and heart to heart, child of wonder, child of God.
Remember me.
Age to age and heart to heart, child of wonder, child